Okay, that was totally my bad. We're gonna do this all over again. It's gonna be great. I forgot to unmute the system.
That's okay. It's Sunday, you know?
This is what happens when Steph is sober and doesn't have the caffeine in the morning. I'm very, very sorry. Anyways, this is Basic Brunches, talk show, podcast, YouTube video, live stream. We talk about all the fun things and we eat a lot of fun things and sometimes we get really drunk, but I don't think this is going to be one of those days because I am already drunk as a sober person.
Drunk on life.
I'm drunk on life. Yes. But I am Stephanie, the host, home ec hobbyist, person who does too much with not a lot of time. And that's all that you need to know about me. My Instagram's right here. Next to me is Eunice, aka Jade Palace Yaya, YouTuber, fashion designer, Twitcher, right?
Yes, yeah. Twitcher.
And a zoologist at this point from all the animals that we were just talking about that you have at your house.
Oh my god, it's funny. I'm gonna be probably working at an animal sanctuary too, so we'll see about that too.
Oh, that's
amazing.
I'm just a crazy dog mom. That's it.
And cats. Below is Ren. Ren is a philanthropist, archaeologist, social media influencer. Yes, you can say that now. Happy. Digital artist, the Renaissance human of the 21st century. Is that what we call this now? I don't.
No idea.
2021 Renaissance human.
I tried.
And below is new friend Rachel, who is a playwright, an actor, a home ec hobbyist, many things. Like, I feel like the panel today is just a bunch of amazing people who do many, many things. But we're going to talk about all the many, many things. Oh, hello, the Fat Jedi Knight. Hey, it is I, your favorite overweight Force user, with all the emojis in the comments. Hello.
So cute.
Super cute.
Everyone's so cute.
Yay.
Oh my god.
Yasuo Syndrome. Look, I'm really sorry. I do not pronounce things very well. Is this live? Yes, this is live. But it will be available on Spotify and YouTube tomorrow. In case you missed out. But if you're here, you're not missing out. You know exactly what's happening. Mm-hmm. Anyways, let's start with topic number 1. It's brunch time for most of us, but what are you having for a brunch? Eunice, would you like to start?
The mute is a struggle today.
Oh my god, I know. The mute's our enemy button today. Anyways, today I have a traditional Chinese, I believe it's Northern Chinese dish. It is a dapping or dapian. And basically it is just, think of like a biscuit mixed with a scallion pancake. And inside I have an egg that unfortunately my yolk popped or whatever. And I have seaweed. And we're doing drinks too, right? So a drink, it's really simple. It's just a strawberry sweet tea.
Delicious. Awesome. And then, Ren, what are you having today?
So I have my turkey avocado wrap. It's delicious. I can't wait to eat this now. It's been sitting here and I'm like, food. And then as for my drink, I have a butterfly pea tea. And then I mix it with lemonade and it does a chemical reaction. So we have, ooh, and it turns purple.
Magic before our eyes.
Yeah, it's fun. So cool. Changes it, so it's fun.
God, I love that
and
stuff.
It's tasty.
Oh,
that's so cool.
Right, I love magical nature. Ren, you are many things, and apparently a magician is one of them.
A magician.
A botanical
You're
magician.
A wizard, Ren.
You are a wizard.
I accept this. I accept. I'm ready to go.
Huzzah! Rachel, what are you eating today?
So I'm on the East Coast, so it's a little late for brunch for me. But earlier I made shakshuka which is a traditional Middle Eastern breakfast, which is eggs that are poached in a spicy tomato pepper liquid base soup. And then you thicken it with like feta cheese and you eat it on bread, and it's delicious. And in keeping with everyone, and another thing we're going to talk about later, I'm having a mimosa in a Captain America mug.
Yes. Generally doing. Hello, generally doing says looks so delicious. It did look delicious. Like I was on your Instagram stories and I'm just watching it like, damn.
Yeah. Oh, it looks so good.
So good. And me being heckin' basic with party neighbors. Party neighbors, hi. Being heckin' basic, I just made deviled eggs. That's it. It's just deviled eggs. There's nothing fancy to them. I didn't have mayonnaise, so I used sour cream. Well, it's true.
Be basic.
Yeah,
and at brunch. Those are the only requirements.
It's true.
As long as it's good. You know?
It's okay. So the dilemma with this one is I actually haven't tried it, but I didn't have mayonnaise, so I used sour cream and half.
Does that work?
Let's find out. God, I'm scared. I do this all the time. It works.
I don't know that it... Okay.
Also, I love mustard, so as long as there's a good amount of mustard, it doesn't matter. It can taste like garbage, and it's okay. But yay.
Exciting.
Super.
It's gotta be like the good spicy deli mustard, though.
It's so true. I'm obsessed with like the stone ground mustard and the spicy mustards, because I feel like if you're gonna have mustard, have it as close to the real thing as possible, even though that probably is not exactly the real thing. I don't know. It just seems less processed. Yeah. Yes. Excuse my mucus. My mucus. First topic. Today is National Zucchini Bread Day. Because you know us in the US, we love making holidays about everything and anything for no reason every day. And National Zucchini Bread is one of them. So my question is, have you tried zucchini bread in your life? And if you haven't, would it be something that you would be willingly would you consider eating it? There we go. Stop trying to sound fancy stuff. It's not good for you. So if you have you tried it, and if you haven't, would you?
Okay.
Eunice.
I think I have. I'm not exactly sure now. Like, if you ask me, like, oh, did you have it? I would just automatically say no. But I'm, like, thinking, like, there's, like, a weird memory floating around right now. And I think I've had it, but I think it was homemade. But I don't remember how it tastes. I just remember seeing, like, in the weird memory, I just see it, like, zucchini. I see, like, a weird bread thing on, like, a plate. And that's all there is. Weird memory. So I guess I'll just assume I haven't eaten it, even though I probably have, but I just don't remember.
Would you be willing to try it if I was to say, Eunice, I made some?
Yes, I will try it. I will try it. I will. It sounds interesting. It's like who would have thought like putting zucchini or like some type of weird like gourd vegetable into bread? And I'm like thinking like in my head I'm thinking like does it taste like fried zucchini? I like fried.
Sorry. I heard I like fried and then it stopped and I was like, if I just keep nodding, it might work for me. No, it did not work. My internet was like, this is not going to work in your favor today.
It's okay, but okay, I don't know how it tastes. I would try it because I'm the type of person, I would try anything once. Like legit. You give me any food, I would try it once.
Nice.
But
then,
yeah.
What about you?
Oh, I've had zucchini bread. It's pretty good. I like it. I think the reason I'm pretty okay with it in general is I like the moistness. Like, it's not dry and crumbly. It's pretty tasty bread. At least when done right. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's very, very important. Yes.
Yeah, and I usually like to have it with a little bit of butter, and then I pan fry it. That's a little extra step that you don't need to do. You just eat it like a piece of cake or like bread. But I like to add a little butter to it and then pan fry for a little crispy edge.
Oh, so look, I'm not hating on that, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But Rachel, it is your turn.
Yes, I have had zucchini bread. I think it's delicious. It kind of has a very cake texture, kind of like Rim was describing, which is really nice and also kind of deceiving because it's vegetable bread, but you can put some butter on it. Like it's cake. It's great. There's actually a really good place in Pasadena called Green Street that has my favorite zucchini bread in the whole world.
Yes. I'm so glad you said that because I was going to mention if nobody else did. Green Street is where I had my first zucchini bread, and I've never strayed away from it. And that is the only place that I'm willing to try it from. Well, I mean, I'll try it from other places, but it's the only place that I've tried it, and I was very happy with it because, like, they give you the butter too, and you could put the butter on it just to give it like this nice, like flavor to it. It enhances a certain flavor, and it's so good. But yes, if you are ever in the Pasadena area, highly recommend Green Street. They have a great salad, great steak, and great zucchini bread.
And you can buy their zucchini bread by the loaf.
Yes, you can.
It is game changing. I'm sorry that this turned into a commercial for Green Street.
Not sponsored, but if you want to feed us, we're not complaining.
Honestly, though. Okay, the next time I'm in Pasadena, I'll have to try it.
Yes, do it.
It sounds good.
Everybody that's tuning in right now, if you have tried zucchini bread, let us know what you thought. If you hated it, that's okay. Everybody has a different
Your
palate.
experience is valid.
Yes, exactly. Everybody has their own interpretation of different experiences. So if you don't like it and we love it, that's okay. More for us.
Okay. But if you're ever in Pasadena, just give it a try because maybe it'll be life changing.
Yes. Do it with the butter.
Do it with the butter.
Do it with the butter. It's worth it. Moving on.
It really is.
To the next topic. April 28th is National Superhero Day. I'm sure it's about comic characters. I don't care. But
yeah.
I know. I think you planned this. Hum.
Clever.
The question is, and everybody who's tuning in, if you would like to participate in the chats, please do. The question is, who is your favorite fictional hero and who is your favorite non-fictional, so historical person, real life person? Who are your heroes? Give it a second to ponder. Okay, done pondering. Ren, who is your superhero?
I'm not really into the superhero trivia stuff, but I think from the characters that I am aware of, I don't even know if they're considered a hero. Is the Punisher considered a hero?
Anti-hero.
Anti-hero?
I'd
Then
consider
maybe
him.
not that one.
I'd consider him.
No, it works.
There's nothing wrong with an anti-hero.
They just don't follow certain rules, that's all.
Right? I'm just kind of like, is he considered a hero, superhero? I don't know. I like him. And I think for me, the main reason is he knows he's not a good person, and he knows he's not the best person. There's no lying to himself. He's just like, yeah, I do what I do because I feel like that's the right thing to do in my mind, and it keeps enemies down. Yeah, it kills people, but they're not gonna do it again. And I'm like, you know what? I can't argue with that logic.
It's the alternate. Sorry, go ahead.
Great. No, it's not great, but at least he's honest with himself.
It's true. I was just going to say, like, he's the alternate universe of Batman, because there is an alternate universe where Batman takes care of them permanently.
Whoa! Did not know that.
It's
interesting.
So I'm that nerd that likes the end of the world perspective of things. And it was one of those.
That makes complete sense. But honestly, like, that used to very intrigue me as a child when I heard about Batman, and like, he would never kill them. Like he would never kill the Joker, and I'm like, but why?
Yeah, exactly.
He's causing so much trouble.
Jen said,
him.
hero to his community and committed to getting shit done.
Honestly, efficiency is key.
Efficiency is totally key. Yes.
Efficiency is key. So I'm kind of like, I can't hate him for, he's doing the work that some people should be doing, but like not doing. He knows he's not a good person for doing it. So,
Yeah, I mean, at least he knows that what he's doing isn't exactly orthodox, but...
Right. Yeah.
Think of all the future victims he saves, as opposed to Batman, who's like, I'm sorry the Joker killed you after I didn't kill him 7 times.
Exactly.
It could have been preventable.
Damn it, Batman.
Damn it. So there's that. But for my real life hero, I would have to say Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee! Yes. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Eunice, what about you? Who would your...
Okay, so I'm that toxic person that doesn't like superheroes, but I like villains. Okay, but if you're talking about, this is not a superhero, but my favorite comic book hero is like Hellboy. I love Hellboy.
Oh yeah.
And then, so I guess like a hero, I guess it'd be Hellboy, but of course my favorite character is Abe Sapien. Love Abe so much. Abe is my bae. Like
I love him so much.
Right? It's like
Off topic, my drink is doing the gradient thing, and I'm like, oh.
I love it. That is gorgeous.
Oh.
Sorcery!
Wizardry!
Herbology, A+. 20 points to Corpus Ren's house. I don't know what... you know what? Whatever house. Whatever.
The House of Corpus.
The House of Corpus Ren. That sounds badass.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Superhero idea. Copyright Corpus Ren.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy with how it turned out. Like, it's doing the gradient thing, and I'm like,
that's really cool.
Shit.
That's really awesome.
Science.
Wizardry.
But yeah, like, I love... I love Abe Sapien. Abe Sapien is my favorite character of all times. He's just adorable. He's smart. I just love
He's so
nice,
wholesome.
smart. I know he is so wholesome. I love him so much.
I love him so much.
And of course, like what was it, media portrayals thing? No, I love Doug Jones. Doug Jones is like my favorite actor. I love him so much.
I took pictures with him twice, and I have multiple of his signatures.
I am so jelly.
That's so cool.
I haven't met him yet. I was supposed to for work, but I didn't get to, and I'm like, I love Doug Jones.
He is my person.
He is. He really is. He is
a nice person.
I love him. Best actor ever in my. Anyways, yes, honestly, seriously. So yeah, so Abe Sapien's my favorite comic book character, definitely. And I guess my real hero, I guess this one needs a little bit more of a weird background, like explanation, but it's the first empress of the Han Dynasty, Liu Zhi. Like, she is so badass, and unfortunately, because of this is going to go in my history a little rant later, but unfortunately, like, she did a lot of horrible things. She's done a lot of horrible things. She's not a good person, but a lot of the things that she did, like, it was, unfortunately, it is justified in order for, like, the Han Dynasty to even exist. And without her, the Han Dynasty would not have been established at all. And unfortunately, like, she is, and that's what I love, like, why the reason why she's my favorite, like, hero is because, like, she's just a woman. She's done she took everything that like, a woman can only do. Like, she took everything that most people condemned women of, like, being, and she used that to help establish something that was so amazing. She was heartless, but she got shit done. But anyways, yeah, she's my, like, one of the most underrated, like, historical figures that everyone always condemns.
I dig it. I'm like, look.
Rant over?
No, it's not, because we're going to get into it later.
Yeah, I know.
Rachel,
for now. Rant over for now.
For now. Rachel, who are your superheroes?
So contrary to Mug, but related, my favorite superhero was Peggy Carter. I'm a big sucker for like the supers who are not super. Like she doesn't have any powers, but she's still such a badass, and she still like gets shit done. She arguably gets shit done more than anyone else in that general franchise, and she doesn't even have powers. I'm still in mourning that they canceled Agent Carter. I'm still really mad about it. One day when I'm a billionaire, I'm gonna bring it back single-handedly.
Goals.
And then my real life hero is kind of depressing, but so as a performer, I did still kind of do a lot of work with like lost art that was lost during the Holocaust. And so my real life hero is Friedel Dicker-Brandeis, who was an artist and an art teacher who worked with kids in the Terezin concentration camp, and it's because of her that we have like all of their artwork. We have their paintings, we have their poetry, we have all of that, because she after they would have their classes and before they got unfortunately shipped off, she hid all of their artwork in a suitcase and all of their poetry in a suitcase, and when they liberated the camp they found it, and so we have all of this children's work because of her. And she just like saved so many lives and saved so many voices, and she just means so much to me.
Beautiful.
I love that so much. Oh, yay. I was going through comments, and G&B Cosplay, who's been on the show a few times, said Storm from X-Men is one of my faves, and it is hard to pick. And I say yes, it is very hard to pick, but Storm is my superhero go-to.
Storm is pretty badass. I do love Storm.
She gets shit done, and she gets shit done quick. And I think the way that she's very strategic about it too, because it's not like Wolverine where he's like YOLO, pull out the claws and just go for it and ask questions later. She's very like, at one point she led the X-Men, you know, like she at one point she worked with the Fantastic Four. At one point she was married to T'Challa, but you know, I digress. Like she's had situations where, you know, there have been multiple times where it's like, can she remain, you know, queen of Wakanda and still work alongside X-Men? Like, can she be queen and superhero at the same time? And a lot of the time it is a huge questionable dilemma, but she, you know, eventually she's no longer queen of Wakanda, sorry, but she is a very, very badass superhero. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if she was able to take down Thanos. We can do those debates in another time. I'm just saying my personal experience based off of her badassdom and her superhero powers. Like, I think she could. But let's move on.
Yeah.
It's really hard to pick one superhero, and I'm sure like everybody here had that dilemma. But I want to do, like, for today, I'm just going to pick Tsai Ing-wen. She's the president of Taiwan, and during COVID, the way that she did the shit, you know, the way that she got everything together and was like, let's figure this out, was a global model of how to react and how to lead during COVID. So I'm just gonna do that because, you know, it's relevant, and I'm like, look, she got the fucking shit done. Women can take care of work, and I need men to understand that. Stop. We are highly qualified for many, many wonderful things. Do not overlook us because we got boobies. That's not your problem. That's none of your concern. Anyways. Lily Hikaru said, Steph and Eunice in the same place. I'm in heaven. Aww. Warm fuzzies. We're gonna move on into the next topic.
Just want to say thank you, Stephanie, for the Taiwanese representation as a Taiwanese myself.
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, an unmarried woman being a president and also being like a supporter of LGBT, same-sex marriage, disadvantaged women, like, hello, we've been screaming and begging for somebody like who cares about people, and she seems to care about people. So Ta-da, ta-da. Warm fuzzies. Next topic is going to be infamous scapegoat women in Chinese history. So we are going to give Eunice some time to talk about the, infamous scapegoat women in Chinese history, and then we're gonna get into a discussion. So get educated.
Okay.
Your turn.
Stop me at the
Alright.
5 minutes, though. Yeah, I told you I'm a ranter, so stop me when my time limit is up, or else I will never stop.
It's okay. I look at the time
I swear.
and
Okay.
go.
Okay, so unfortunately, women have always been blamed for a lot of things, and I'm not going to say that there's no bad women. There, of course, are horrible people that women that have existed in history. But unfortunately, with Chinese history, a lot of times the women that were demonized and a lot of the women that were like, oh my god, like she was such a horrible person, she brought the end of like this so and so dynasty. It happens like almost every dynasty. So let's start with Bao Si. Bao Si was a consort of the emperor during the Zhou dynasty. So with her, she's kind of blamed with kind of ending the Zhou dynasty. Well, okay, so the Zhou dynasty is kind of weird, actually. The Zhou dynasty existed all the way to pre-Qing dynasty, but in between there's like these different sub-dynasties in it. But anyways, she's kind of blamed with bringing in the warring states. Because with her, she was a consort of the emperor, and she was always really melancholy. According to history, she was always really melancholy. She would never smile. She would just like, of course, like if I were a consort, I probably would never smile either. But but the emperor doted on her so much. Like the emperor loved her, and he would always offer rewards to anyone who can make her smile. No one succeeded, unfortunately. But until one time, they started lighting like the beacons. In Mulan, this is kind of hard to explain, but how in Mulan, the beginning of the animated film, like they light like the beacons along the Great Wall, be like, oh my god, now all of China know you're here. That they just suggested, hey, why not light a beacon, see how she reacts? And lo and behold, she started smiling when she saw the fire. And the emperor was all like, oh my god, like she smiled, I must always make her smile. And so like every day he will always light the beacons. But unfortunately, the beacons are meant to tell everyone that, oh my god, we're under attack. There's like an invader. So people are coming every single day, be like, oh my god, is everything okay? And then they see her smiling, and of course they think she's laughing at them, but like she's just okay. The thing is, it's like, remember, the Zhou dynasty is probably like what, 3,000 years ago. There's not much entertainment. Probably for her, the fire is probably equivalent to like fireworks. For me, yeah, like if you're in a palace every single day for your whole life with only like trees and gardens and like whatever, like of course, like if it were me, I'm kind of a pyromaniac, but if I saw fire, I would laugh too. I would smile. I love fire. Fire is awesome. Anyways, so it got to a point that people started getting pissed. People were really pissed that basically they were getting summoned for no reason. And it got to a point that they started to revolt. And they're all like, either you kill her or else we're going to take you off the throne. And unfortunately, okay, so there's different, of course, it's like there's different endings, but usually the historical ending was that she was forced to commit suicide, and that's the reason why the emperor was still able to stay on the throne. But a lot of not modern historians, but like throughout the 3,000 years of like her story, people have always like called her like violent, like she's such a like she has violent tendencies. She's like it's because she loves fire so much, she likes to see things burning, that she's a bad person, which is why the dynasty started to fall. And that's why in that kind of stuff, it's ridiculous. And this is not the first time. Like in the story itself, it's the king doing everything and she's getting blamed for it. And this is unfortunately not an uncommon story. So let's go to, I'm going to leave the last figure because like the earliest figure is probably the most important figure, and I'll leave her for last because she has been blamed for everything. Okay. So let's move.
You got 2 minutes.
Are you serious? Okay, anyways. Okay. So let me just list them everything. So everything, like Cheng Yuan was blamed for the fall of the Ming Dynasty, but basically she was just kidnapped, and her husband loved her so much because she was kidnapped by the emperor of the Ming Dynasty that he opened the gates to the Qing Dynasty, to the Manchurians, that the Ming Dynasty fell. He was the one that like opened the gates, but she is the one blamed because you're like, oh my god, a man would do that for a woman? Like the woman must be like the one causing all the issues. Unfortunately, after he got her back, he just kind of like married other people and she got forgotten. Wu Zetian, the ultimate baddie of the Tang Dynasty, she's the only female emperor in Chinese history. During her reign was the peak of Chinese like culture, the peak of Chinese like everything. But after she died, she was always blamed. They're saying that she was a horrible emperor. She like, brought the fall of the Tang Dynasty, which didn't happen because it's just ridiculous. She was amazing. And it was, in fact, her grandson that brought the end of the Tang Dynasty. And it was also because like he had a consort, which is Yang Guifei, a very famous consort. She's listed as one of the top 4 beautiful women in Chinese history. She was actually his son's wife that he took. And she was so good during the time when he took her as a wife. He was already in his like 60s, and she was like probably in her like teens, 20s, and he doted on her. He loved her so much, and of course like he started neglecting state duties, and then that people again revolted and blamed her, and then forced her to commit suicide also. And the last one, okay, so I guess this is the major figure that I had to talk about is Daji, and I actually have a video. I did a video on her. She is blamed for bringing in the patriarchal society. She is blamed for like, oh my gosh, she like up until now, a lot of historians, even though like it's been kind of proven wrong, they still blame her for like, oh my god, women are violent, women cannot be in ruling power, women cannot be like that, because if it happens, it's going to end up like Daji, and she's just going to kill everyone. Because in historical, there's actually no real historical evidence, not evidence, but manuscripts about her in real life. A lot of her depictions are actually from a fairy tale book. And so basically, like before her, because she was the end of the Shang Dynasty. She is blamed for bringing the end of the Shang Dynasty, and it's ridiculous. So basically, they say that she was so violent. She like cut open like pregnant women's bellies. She cut off like farmers' feet. She cut out open people's heart to see them. But all of that is actually that was my cat. All of them is actually just from a fairy tale book. None of that is historically accurate. But for like these 3,000 years, everyone believed it, that it was actually how she was. But most likely, like she was just a poor girl. She was actually given, okay, this is the same thing happens. Her husband, the King Zhou of Shang, took over the state of Su. Her father gave her to the king as a trophy. The king was in his 60s. She was probably 14. And then most likely he just like, he's an old man. He sees this beautiful woman and he starts neglecting his stately duties. He's neglecting his role as an emperor. And that brought the end of the Shang Dynasty. She most likely did nothing wrong. But to this day, she is blamed for ending a matriarchal society and bringing in patriarchy in China, ancient China. And it's ridiculous. But if you guys want to know more about her, I have a YouTube video on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, time is up for sure. But I mean, you said you were going to do a 2-parter on like all the women that were used as scapegoats in Chinese history on your YouTube. So
yes, I'm doing a series on that. So I have the first one out. And unfortunately, this is not an uncommon story. It's not an uncommon story.
Nope.
Yeah, no. And the question that we're going to open up with is what other female figures can you think of that have been treated as scapegoats in such situations? It could be a historical, it could be entertainment, it could be fiction, pop culture. But who are some of these, like, who can you think of that's been treated as the reason behind things? Rachel, you'd like to start?
I'm still just like processing because all of that is so insane. And I also just love that the conclusion couldn't just be like, okay, we're going to stop lighting the burners. Like, that wasn't an option. It either had to be like, we're going to revolt or we're going to kill her. There was no option for, or we just don't set things on fire.
Yeah,
Right.
And then everyone's fine. I don't know why that wasn't brought up.
I don't know either.
I just, why?
Yeah, exactly.
So there's, I love true crime. And I think the woman who comes to mind for me is a woman named Catherine O'Leary. In Chicago, there was a fire in Chicago, like a very long time ago, but it killed like 300 people, and it was a huge deal. And it was likely caused by what we would now call OSHA violations, but just like industry workers not being careful and like embers being blown from charcoal. But it got blamed on Catherine O'Leary, who was an Irish immigrant in Chicago, where Irish immigrants were very, very hated, for drunkenly milking a cow. And apparently the cow knocked over a lamp and it set all of Chicago on fire, which is definitely not what happened.
I think I remember that story. Yeah.
But people would like accost her in the street and like claim that she was drunk all the time. There's no evidence that she was drunk all the time, but they were like, no, drunken Kathy and her cow set Chicago on fire.
Is so gnarly. That is so friggin' gnarly.
I'm just like, what? They killed the cow. I realize that's not like that sad. Most of us eat beef, but like they killed the cow for doing nothing.
Wrongfully killed the cow.
That's not a fair thing. How dare they? I'm not being sarcastic.
Fair.
I'm like genuinely like that really fucking sucks. It really, really sucks.
Like it really sucks. That was
I really feel for the cow though. Like, oh.
But it also set off like a really unfortunate trend of like she got the brunt of it, but it also set off a really horrible misogynistic like crime spree throughout Chicago at the time. And a lot of farm maidens were assaulted and attacked for no reason, for literally just they happened to be women who were working on farms with livestock. But everyone was like, if we, hurt them or stop them, like this will never happen again.
Sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Ren, what about you? Who is someone that you can think of?
I mean, there's so many examples in real life and in fiction, but I think obviously the most classically known one is the Helen of Troy one. But for something in media that I can use is probably Esmeralda Esmeralda from, I think the most common representation is the Hunchback of Notre Dame in the Disney. And Frollo Judge Frollo in the Hellfire scene, instead of recognizing his own passion for her, blames her for witchcraft of seducing him. And it was like, okay, well, Hellfire, Brim and Stone, either you choose me or I burn down Paris and you're going to hell.
That sounds healthy.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not healthy, sir, but also like that's not how a relationship works, and maybe don't burn down all of Paris just for this one woman. Not healthy. So yeah. Men need therapy.
Right? Y'all need some.
I mean, we all need therapy, but
yes.
The patriarchy in general really hurts the men too,
Mm-hmm.
You gotta express your feelings, and that's not how you do it.
Yep, nope. Oh my goodness. Generally going back to the Chicago incident, scape cow, if you will.
Scape cow.
I'm like, that poor cow. Poor cow.
Poor cow.
But it's interesting that you mentioned Helen of Troy, because I did put that in, like, I just downloaded a bunch of things from history. So if you wanted to go into like a a mythological perspective, Pandora was blamed for everything that happened and everything that does happen that are all negative because, you know, bitch opened a box and look at what happened. It's like, that's not fair. That's not fair at all. And then the Salem
who
witch
put the
trials
shit
was
in the
another.
box?
Yeah,
Yeah, that box was pre-planned.
legit.
Who did that?
Who's the douche with the box? Who put it all in the box? Fuck that
Who put
guy.
it all in the box?
Also, like, everyone is like, oh, well, of course she opened the box. She's a woman. Every man I know would have opened the box.
All the dudes would have opened the goddamn box.
They all would have opened the box.
Hama would have opened the box.
Right? Like, a fucking goat could open a box. Like,
A cow would have.
no scape cow would have
No
opened
scape
the box.
cow.
Big cow would open the box.
And then, you know, there's the whole, like, witch trial thing. It wasn't just Salem that did it. It was Europe because of Christianity and how negatively witchcraft was perceived. And so...
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of it just comes down to not only, like, the religious beliefs, but also just comes down to economics. You know, witches, like, they didn't like the idea that women were able to make their own commerce in system where they could sustain themselves and not have men to depend on. Like, witches, like, they were most commonly known as brewers. So they, like, before the concept of witches, like, they were making ale and beer and stuff. So that's where the concept of, like, the hats, the pony hats and the cats and stuff, because the cats would, you know, eat the mice that were near the brewery and the barley and hay, protect their goods. But then they were like, men obviously were like, well, we can do that, but better. And they started coming up with these concepts of like, well, you know, these women clearly are dealing with the devil and they're witches, so we have to burn them. And there's often times where economics and capitalism is disguised with the facade of religion. And that's when a lot of, you know, fucked up things happen.
Yeah. Oh, that definitely brings perspective, Rachel. No, that brings it into a lot of that puts it into perspective because, you know, a lot of people like, I just made that mistake of just assuming like, oh, well, religion fucking destroyed it all, and it's like, well, it could be there are many factors that could put it into like manifesting.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if you even look into like colonialism and like the conquering of different nations from European lens point, they're doing it with the facade of, well, God let us know that we need to help you guys because clearly you're not civilized enough. And so our God said that we're allowed to conquer you because you're not human. And that's another facade under religion. And like, I understand it's messed up in general, but it's capitalist at the end of the day, because what they did is they stole resources from these people and these lands, and they continue to do so, and blame it on other things instead of recognizing the faults of themselves.
Yeah. So speaking of the situation, we're going to move into the next topic, which is women in villain roles, or how society interprets women in villain roles. And this is Rachel's segment. So go ahead, Rachel.
I have so much more than 5 minutes worth of stuff.
I know, it's really, really hard. It's really hard.
It's so hard. Okay, so I want to start by saying that I, as a playwright, mostly write about like gray morality women and women who are in situations that are difficult to explain. Some of that is villains, some of that is just like women who made survivalist choices. But the play that I wrote that's about to go off Broadway is about a female serial killer named Amelia Dyer and her daughter. Yeah, I should get into what they do. So I really should. So I want to start this off by like, I'm not here to defend serial killers. That's not what we're here to do. So Amelia Dyer was what's called a baby farmer, which was the beginning of the foster care system in England, which was essentially if you were an unwed mother and you needed something to do with your baby, because obviously you had no prospects if you kept your baby, you would pay a baby farmer like £10, and they would either take care of the baby and raise it, or they would farm them out, which basically meant adopt them out to another family. And Amelia very quickly realized that because most of these women were not going to come back for their babies, that she could take the baby and take the £10 and kill the baby and keep the £10. And it was a very lucrative system for her. She's suspected of killing over 300 infants, which is just bananas to me. But in researching her, one of the things that really stood out was that the reason that she and a lot of other female criminals and villains are able to get away with so much is because she was arrested multiple times. And each time she was able to go before the court and be like, I'm just a poor woman who got overwhelmed and was in over my head. And life is just so hard. And the judge would be like, I understand. And she would get like 2 weeks hard labor and then be right back doing exactly what she was doing. And no, and this is a common thing that you see throughout women who did terrible things in history. It's just that no one assumes that they would be capable, so they're able to get away with a lot more, which is very interesting when you also look at once we've decided as a society that a woman actually is guilty of something, the way we treat her as opposed to a male criminal counterpart is so much more vicious. Like if once we've determined that she is a murderer or she is whatever, how dare she override that femininity that doesn't allow you to commit those crimes? So it's just this very interesting, like, opposite spectrum. And you see it a lot in superheroes as well. The female villain, like they have to create some situation for her to be evil. She can't just be evil. She has to be like overly sexualized, or she has to have this really traumatic childhood. There's no kind of excuse for her to just be a bad person. And I realize it might be seen as like an anti-feminist perspective to be fighting for a place in the pop culture table for women to just be bad people. But I also really feel that without the space for that, it's hard to create fully rounded characters, because without the full spectrum that men have, and specifically white men have, of being able to be all these multifaceted things, you're still very pigeonholed in what you can be portrayed as. And so that's kind of like what I'm fighting against, and what I'm really discovering as you go back and look at women. And I guess I'm just continuously fascinated by, like, why do we as a society have so many issues with women, like the perception of women as criminals? Like, we just can't do it. We can't see it. I don't know if that made all of the points that I was trying to.
I mean, it's interesting because, you know, it's an interesting point that you bring up. A lot of times it's always like, well, there's a reason why, like, there's the term method to my madness that usually goes for a lot of people, but it's like there are people that are born as just bad people. They just are bad people. There's no, you know, and it's not like, I wouldn't say somebody can be born evil, but it is still possible. It's not common, and it's not something that happens very often, but it's very possible. And it just, it's very interesting. And I'm interested in hearing everybody else's perspective on it.
Well, and it also popped up recently because of the new Cruella trailer for Disney. And everyone was kind of commenting, and I'm very with them, of like, does she need a tragic backstory? The woman skins puppies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you explain that? Like, how do you justify what she's doing? Like,
at some point, you just have to say, like, no.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that concept of the trailer, because it's like, there's really, you can't excuse that behavior. Are we trying to excuse her behavior with like a tragic backstory? And honestly, even if it was, therapy. I'm sorry, what? You had bad work experience? Quit. Do something else. Not skin puppies, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. No. Yeah, exactly. Eunice, is there anything that you would like to add into this?
it's like really weird because I'm also looking at it from like not a non-Western perspective as well. Because like what I consume a lot of are portrayed in like Chinese dramas. Like either of course there is of course that tragic backstory that there is one particular I don't want to talk about. It's a really good drama now. Anyways. Anyways, but usually it's like when women are bad, it's just it's because they're women. It's because they have the pettiness of women. They have like the jealousy of women. Women are naturally jealous. Women are naturally like, whatever. So it's a little bit different. So like, I actually agree. It's like, as I said, there are horrible, like, like women in Chinese history. Like I said, there was one particular consort in the Ming Dynasty that was just killing all the unborn babies because she couldn't have a baby herself. And
just,
yeah, but then like she was just legit bad because like, but then like a lot of times that like women, it's actually, I never thought about it too. Like women we can't perceive women just being bad. Like it always has to be a woman. As I said with Chinese culture, they're bad, but the reason why is because they're women. It's their pettiness, it's their selfishness, it's their like inability to like accept other people, but not just because they're bad. It's because of their personality as women. So it's quite interesting as well. And it's I actually never thought about that.
It's like a very different, it's different from the Western perspective, but it's also very tied in of like, why can't we just, it's not the same thing as a male villain, and it's very weird.
Exactly. Right. Well, it's like the same thing with Lizzie Borden. Lizzie Borden was like she was not like, said guilty because they were like, oh, how can a woman do this? Of course, we still don't know if Lizzie Borden did do it, but like possibility.
Right. So the question was like, why do we need to justify female villains when we can accept that some male villains are just bad? And the solid answer is we don't need justification. It's like the actions that they did were bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad. Like
we're supposed to sympathize with them, like, that kind of thing. It's like, are we not supposed to? It becomes a whole idea. Like, are we not supposed to sympathize with male villains? Are we supposed to sympathize with women villains because they're women?
Mm-hmm.
It like, kind of feels that way. Like anytime you're presented with a female villain, you're like, oh, but it's okay. She's been through stuff. And it's like, no, it's not okay. What she's doing is not okay.
Yeah, but what is it like? Jeffrey Dahmer, or not Jeffrey Dahmer? Ted Bundy. He was totally normal dude who was an insane motherfucker, and we're just like, how did this happen? But when a woman does it, it's like, oh, but women are just catty. Like, fuck you. No. Anyways, yeah. The Fat Jedi Knight says the evil queen in Snow White comes to mind of a female villain that gets to petty. Yeah, and I'm like, I just. We can do better. I feel like people can do better. Like we can't just be like, oh, like the whole boys will be boys concept. We can dive into that in another topic entirely. It's just you can't. Like there are some things that you can and can't do. Like you can't just, oh, boys will be boys, but she's just the devil. It's like, what? No.
It's a very fine line. I think
it's a really
like,
weird line.
That it's like, I think a lot of people haven't really approached it either. It's just a weird concept that's just prevalent.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, Rachel, that you're working on a show about something like this. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see the outcome of this. Yeah.
If you're in New York, it's opening on September 13th.
Da, 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 da. Yay! Now
that's exciting.
I know it's basically 2:00. We've basically been live for an hour, but if everybody's okay with time, I do want to get into Ren's topic.
Oh yeah,
like, yes. So Ren, sustainability and small businesses and how they can focus on sustainability and causes and whatever the thing was that we were discussing. I would love for you to.
Yeah, sure. As an anthropologist, so my main focus is anthropology. So I study like human beings, what it's like to be human, what it means to be human, etc., etc. So this week for Earth Week, I really focused on what sustainability means in a human aspect, because I think when people start thinking about sustainability, when it comes to recycling and products and business and business practices, I think they start thinking of like, oh, how, the materials themselves. Like, if I got like a toilet paper thing, like, how is that sustainable? Blah, 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 blah. But for me, my main focus is like, yes, we can do that too, make earth friendly decisions, but also we can do people friendly decisions as well. And that means making sure the way that we treat each other is sustainable. And what I mean by that is not only are we treating each other with respect, dignity, and basic human kindness, but also expecting and advocating it from businesses. And that could be small businesses or big businesses as well. And the main focus is because I started the Earth Week talking about prison labor, which is basically just slavery. And prison labor basically just comes down to a lot of racism and capitalist ideals that are all mixed in, and then private prisons to sell these people to do all the work for big companies, and they can get cheaper prices and all that other stuff. And we should expect more. And I think a lot of people don't really think about the products that they're getting, where it comes from, who made it, and the conditions that they're put into. Not only just for, I think the most common thing is people like understand like factory workers or like the clothes that they come from. They understand like, oh yeah, maybe someone in China or Indonesia or somewhere in like Sri Lanka made these clothes. We should advocate for them. But I'm also talking about, like, well, what about prison laborers? Those also exist. And I think there's a lot of notion where they're like, oh, well, they're just prison laborers. They did bad things. They deserve this. And I'm like, no, they deserve basic dignity as well. But also consider that a lot of these prison laborers, their crime was probably nothing. Some of it is just being Black. And I'm from Louisiana. And the incarceration rate is one of the highest in the nation. That's what they're proud of. And they say it with their whole chest. And a lot of my friends would often be like, yeah, a lot of the people who get arrested here are just like carrying marijuana. Sometimes it's planted on them. And it's like minor things. Sometimes they can't afford a bill, or they miss their court date because they can't afford transportation or something like that. Like, it's minor cases like these that they get arrested, put into jail, are put into the system of like prison labor, and then they're exploited. And that's just modern day slavery. And sustainability means we have to hold these businesses that are using these products and methods accountable. So I feel like that also means we have to start really considering our being more conscientious, as well as just how we treat each other and the businesses we want to support.
Yeah.
Did I fit the time?
Yeah. That was actually really short.
Cool.
Yay.
Thanks.
But yeah, it's like I know there are people that are concerned about the environment, and that's fine. Like you can.
That's important.
It's very important. Like if you want to do reusable paper towels instead of use once and throw it away, please do. Yeah. But as you mentioned, it's a lot more deeper than just that kind of thing, especially when it comes to like prison reform and like the people that are what was the word that you used? They're for drugs that are planted on them, and they can't afford to go to court, or they can't do certain things. It's beyond what, I mean, higher class people would be able to.
It's just the basic privileges that they have.
Yeah, it's the standard privileges that not many people have anymore, and it's really heartbreaking to see that they have to go to jail and they have to go to prison, and now they have to do this labor for like stupid cheap. Stupid.
Yeah,
cheap.
4 cents to $1 an hour.
Yeah,
and they don't even get to see any of it.
Right, and it's bummer. It's definitely something that we need to be more aware of, because a lot of companies use that to make more of a profit, and they say, well, it's made within the States, and it's like, well, technically yes,
it's made in USA. It's like, okay, where?
Exactly. So I mean, it's hard. What are some companies that if you know of any companies? I mean, Google is a public domain, and you are more than viewers and listeners out there, you guys are more than welcome to like research more into it and look more into the situation and look for brands that don't use slave labor. if you
Yeah.
really didn't want to support
Yeah,
that.
exactly. It's like you can just do a quick Google and then just look at their investor reports because that's accessible to most people. See what they're investing in, see how they're where they're putting the money. Are they actually doing what they're saying they're doing? And just really just look into that. What is their sustainable resources? Who is in their departments? Who's within their building, like team building? And like just understand like, okay, how diverse, what is the work ethics or like the work company ethics? Do they allow promotion for BIPOC people and women and all these things? Like, how inclusive are they? These are questions that I ask as an influencer whenever I do brands for either myself or since I'm her assistant. I'm doing those background questions and being like, this is a company we can support and we can, we're comfortable talking with. And if we're not, we won't. And sometimes that's big money that has to go bye-bye. But it's our moral compass and what you want to support versus just being like, that's good money, thank you. Like,
Yeah.
we have to do better.
Right. And it's very hypocritical if you guys talk about things that are, good for social, like good for people, like, and then you get a sponsor that is completely toxic. So I'm very, like, it's amazing, and it's very admirable that you and Blair do that. You guys are very selective on the marketing and the endorsements to also support what you were talking about, because I know actions speak louder than words, and you guys have been doing an amazing job. So
Thanks. But I think in general, if you want to start doing that kind of stuff, it really just small businesses because you know where it's coming from. You know that the money will actually support them, not some big company. I think just starting there is always good.
Yeah. So the question is now for everyone else, do you know of any brands that are small businesses that or brands that also help with donating money to causes? Who would like to go first? Rachel? Okay, Rachel.
I'm like raising my hand like that.
Yes, teacher.
So I love that you're doing that work because it's very hard, I think, for a lot of people to take the time, and it shouldn't be, but for some reason it feels very hard when you're just like trying to make it through your day to be like,
Yeah.
I don't know what companies to use. But in kind of researching this question and thinking about it, I was also like, oh, there are a lot of local companies that do stuff that's also very niche to the community that they serve, which I hadn't really thought about in terms of sustainability, but that makes such a difference because it's like, oh, you specifically created a product for a community. You're acknowledging that your market might not be as wide, but you're really doing the best to serve those people.
Right.
So I wanted to give a shout out to a company called Radiator Labs that works in New York City. And they do a lot of energy sustainability. Most of the buildings in New York are very old and they operate on steam heat, which is not controlled by each individual apartment. It's controlled by the building, which means that depending on the weather, depending on whatever, you have no control over how much energy is being used, and it doesn't service the entire building evenly. So then that also means that people are plugging in additional ACs, plugging in fans, plugging in space heaters to kind of accommodate. And what Radiator Labs does is they've developed a thing that you can install on your own personal, they come in and install it on your radiator that gives you control over your heat so that you are bypassing the need to do all of this extra plugging in. And it's cost effective, and they're designed it for like pre-war buildings. So it really is catering to the steam pipe system. It's very interesting. And I like went into their schematics.
Really cool.
I go, this is really cool. But it's a great way to cut down on energy use, and B, it's a really good way to kind of encourage people to spend a little bit of extra money to get something that's going to be really useful to them and to not have them be bitter about sustainability. So I feel like that's one of the biggest hurdles, even in my own personal life, is like, well, I want to do this, but it's really inconvenient. And like, which is my own boundary, and I know a lot of other people also deal with that. I usually push past it, but it definitely is a thought that pops up. Whereas this is both sustainable and super convenient. So I'm just like, yes.
That's always nice.
Yes, absolutely. And Eunice, was there any company that you can think of that helped with?
So unfortunately, like when I read the question, I like my mind went through the normal way when you think about sustainability, about the whole reuse. So I'm like, actually, I never thought about the whole prison, like, you know, the slave labor with like within sustainability itself. I actually did not occur to me that this was actually related. So thank you for opening my mind. I'm like opening like my perspective on that. I
Of
never
course.
would have thought. That's so awesome. So unfortunately, when I was researching, my research went a different way about
That's
sustainability.
okay. That's okay.
My because like for me, I go through like because I'm a fashion designer by trade normally. So like my thing was about like constant reuse of like textile because like with fashion
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff, it's always okay. So fast fashion is cheap because it creates a lot of waste because it like basically stuff like, you know, the stuff we're wearing, it's meant to be thrown away. It's not meant to last. And so like a lot of the things I was researching, like I feel like like when I was thinking about sustainability, I was thinking about how like a lot of cultures, a lot of indigenous cultures, a lot of like older folk cultures never had this issue. Never had the issue of like they're always constantly reusing, and how like actually our technological advancement is making it worse for everything that's going on. And one of the things I was looking into in China, in this is like an old Chinese like folk art. It's called Bai Jia Pao or Bai Jia Bai Jia Yi, which means like 100 household outfit. And what it is that like they will actually go to and this actually stems from like poverty. Like they can't afford new clothes. So what do? They go to like different places, will donate like like one whole village in itself will donate like fabric to this one household that needs to make it. And it's ancient quilting basically. They take all of like what couldn't like they like other people don't use anymore and making a completely new outfit. And it's gorgeous, by the way. It's not like you think of like, oh, you patching it up with like really bad stitching. That's a no. They make it into art. And a lot of times that these outfits are actually made for children. And the symbolism of that is that like you have a village protecting you, and this outfit is supposed to be a talisman of protection. And you have a whole village, everyone that donated to like protect this one child. And then like that's why like, when I was doing the sustainability, I was thinking that like we should start. It's more of a community. We have to go back to like a community where like we all are like helping each other. We have to leave this individualistic like mentality, especially unfortunately in the United States, which we saw during the pandemic. Everyone was just to like individual, my individual rights. We need to go back to a society that community actually meant something, and how like we have to like sometimes like go. There's one of my very important, like a motto that I really go by is that like you need to remember your history in order to walk to a better future. And unfortunately, I think that's what we're forgetting. We're erasing our history. We're erasing all these old like things. Like maybe like now it's labor intensive, but at the same time, it's like they were able to sustain a world that we have destroyed within the last couple decades. Yeah, that was my weird spiel of sustainability when I saw that.
No, it's okay. I mean, look,
no, I think that works great because sustainability basically means not only being earth friendly but people friendly too.
Yes, it's being selfless.
Yeah,
with restrictions. And you know what's really interesting, Ren, is when you were talking about sustainability and you know how some companies will help some causes. I started following this company because you posted in your stories about them, Soaps for Change.
Yes.
Yes, because I found them very fascinating because all the soaps are handmade, and every once in a while they'll do fundraisers where they donate money to these companies or these organizations. And I think right now they're working on donating to the Advancing Justice of Los Angeles for Asian American.
Yes.
Yeah, Asian American Advancing Justice. That's what they're donating to right now. And I think that's really fascinating. And I'm really thankful that you share this information with people on Instagram and on your social media outlets, because I would never have thought of them. Ever. I would never have
me
them.
neither. They reached out to me, honestly, and I was like, oh, what can I do to help? And like they were like, we were just like in a promotion. And I was like, okay, not a problem. And they sent me some soaps and stuff. And I was like, this is amazing. And I tried them out, and they were super soft on my skin, and I love them. And my partner has eczema, so I was like, oh, even better. So we tried them out and everything, and like the money got donated to that organization that was needed. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely buying more subs from them, because how great is that? Is that a community that you're putting money into, and you know that money is going to go help people and organizations that actually will use it.
Yeah, exactly. And I know, like, when in it last month we were talking about some ways to be more environmentally conscious. And I know Jen did like shout out some of these Etsy companies and some of these brands that are like multi-useful. So if you ever are interested in, in finding out what brands or what companies utilize prisoner slavery, definitely do the Googling and do the homework. But I'm sure, like, if you reach out to us, we'd be happy to help you to the fullest extent of our capabilities. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yay. But this concludes Basic Brunches. It has shout out time, and shout out time is like, last minute, like, I would like to do a shout out to insert here. For me, I would like to do a shout out to Last Prisoner Project. If you can donate, totally donate. It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to cannabis criminal justice reform. Like, especially now that cannabis is slowly becoming legal in many states. Like, there are times where we're looking like, well, they got arrested and they're in prison for carrying like a tiny bit.
Something legal,
that is now legal. How messed up. Like, I get people's explanations and justifications or whatever. Like, I hear you. I know what you're saying, but that's still fucked up. So bring awareness. And if you would like to learn more about Last Prisoner Project, go to lastprisonerproject.org. Ba-ba-bam. Okay. Ba-ba-bam. Eunice, what about you? What's your shout out?
Oh God, this is probably the part I didn't think about during that.
We could shout out your episode.
Oh, okay, I didn't want to be like, oh my God, go follow me. No, I didn't want to do that.
No, go follow Eunice.
Be selfish.
Go follow
Oh my God, no, be selfless.
Yes, everybody be selfless, but Eunice can be selfish right now.
Okay, fine, I can be selfish. Okay, I didn't want to do this. I'm so sorry, guys. But if you can, go follow my YouTube channel is at Jade. It's at Jade Palace. Yeah. I'm so close to getting a custom URL. I'm so excited. So if you guys can go follow that, that'd be really awesome. I also I do stream on Twitch Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And with that one, I also do while we're streaming, I like to chat, but also my major thing is always education, especially right now as an Asian American creator with what's going on right now. I try to educate as much as I can, because in order to fight ignorance, you need to be educated. So that's what that's what I try to promote. Education is very, very important to me. And so if you can follow me on Twitch, I play games. I play some fun stuff. I swear I'm usually entertaining 5% of the time. So yeah.
It's better than 0.
That's true.
And sometimes she plays scary as fuck games, like games that are super goddamn scary, but they also they incorporate history and lore, and I'm just like, I'm so fascinated, but I hate this game, but I can't stop watching.
I know you can't tell. I love horror genre. I love scary things. I'm kind of messed up in myself now. But anyways, yeah.
I was like, you could check out the October Basic Brunches for more information on how she can, how much she loves that horror and gore. God damn.
I'll take the hoary too. I'll take the hoary gory.
Hoary gory.
I'll take the hoary gory.
New genre.
Yes. Hoary gory. Rachel, what about you?
I can't. Okay, I have 2 quick shout outs. One is selfish, but if you follow me on Instagram at Rachel Layson, you can get more information about my upcoming play, Blood on My Mother's Apron, which is going to be opening. It's female horror, true crime, which there's not a ton of, so we would really love your support because it's very niche. And then I also want to give a shout out to an organization called Friend of a Friend that works here in NYC. It's not a corporation, it's completely volunteer run. They do hot meals for people who have been displaced due to the pandemic. They set up in different spots and are very communicative on social media, and do a lot of like really amazing cooking. And they've been absolutely awesome in getting food out to people who have not been able to afford it, or people who have been displaced from their homes during the course of the pandemic. So they are on Venmo, they are on Instagram. Check out @Friend of a Friend. They do incredible work. And if you have a couple bucks, they put it to good use all the time.
Yay!
That's
I
awesome.
love it. Yay! And Ren?
Hello. For the company I'm shouting out today is Inspired Peru. They are on Instagram. I've mentioned them before on my Instagram, and I've worked with them before. And it's basically just a community-based artisan group from Peru where they make handmade artisan stuff. So, like, for example, let me go ahead off camera real quick. Boop, boop. So, like, I have this alpaca teddy bear. It's so cute, and like it's so soft. Like, look at this. Like, wow,
love
God.
it.
It's adorable. And like I get to know who made it and like the location, and because they give in the tag. So it's owned by the community. The money goes back to the community in Peru, and that's why I like working with them a lot, because I know where it's going. And who makes my stuff, and it's like the super soft, and it's like adorable. I love it so much. So yeah, Inspire Peru. Let's see. I think I'm not sure what the logo, but it looks like this. So if you look up
Yay.
Inspire Peru.
Awesome. And I will be sure to have all these links available in the YouTube description and podcast description if I can. I'm learning things.
You got this. I believe in you.
Yay! But yes, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you everybody for tuning in and participating in the comments and giving us a new term of scape cow, poor cow. And thank you so much to Eunice, Rachel, and Ren for taking time out of your schedules to be here and to talk about all the fun things. I am Stephanie. This is Basic Brunches on Nom Talk Network. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Have a great day. Have a great life. And have a nomorific one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.